Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from Northwest Community Television. It's time once again for an update of what's new in Maple Grove and a look back at a rather long council meeting in the city of Maple Grove. Stay with us. Maple Grove City Report coming up next. Thank you for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report, joined by City Administrator Al Madsen. Al, welcome again to the program.
Thanks, Dave.
Al, the city has given us a tough challenge this week. We have about a 2.5-hour meeting to fit in 30 minutes. Before we get into some other things in the city, why such a long meeting? I know the answer is kind of simple because only one meeting this month, right?
Right. We did not have a first meeting in July, and so it jammed up, the second meeting in July, council meeting. So it was a long one, but, we got through it. Everything went smoothly. So.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll get right to the council meeting in just a minute, but first let's talk about some other things happening in town. What should people know about Maple Grove these days?
Well, we just came off very successful Maple Grove days. I've always felt that Mother Nature doesn't dare mess
Right.
with Deb Syrie and her Maple Grove Days crew. Tremendous number of volunteers, and the Maple Grove Community Organization does a fantastic job of getting everything in order. And so it was a lot of fun. You and I were doing the parade, the Botno parade, and that was a lot of fun. And then Friday night was the coronation of our ambassadors. And Saturday was lots of events. 200 cars for the car show.
Was impressive.
And it was very impressive. It was more than they anticipated. And so that was great. The bed races are always fun to watch those. And then naturally the fireworks Saturday night. Then the arts display, the art display on Main Street Saturday and Sunday, the garden tour. There were so many different things for people to do. And so the business expo, the truck expo. So if someone gets bored at Maple Grove Days,
Yeah.
something's wrong.
Yeah, don't know how that can happen.
That's right. There's so many things to do, and once again we had the shuttle service with the shuttle buses running from our transit station to take people to various locations, and that helps with the downtown parking area because it does get very tight. So, but it was a very, very successful event, and. I cannot say enough good things about Deb Syrie and our MGCO team. Amazing what they do.
So put it on your calendar for next year, second week of July. Yeah. It'll be time for it once again.
It will, yes, and we'll do the parade again, I hope.
Perfect, we'll be there.
A few other things. On August 8th at 6 p.m., we're going to have the ribbon cutting of our Central Park, our Phase 1 of the Central Park. And that is going to be a very, very nice amenity in the city, and I encourage people to partake in some of the things that are now there. But the official ribbon cutting, so to speak, will be on August 8th at 6 p.m.
Okay, very good.
National Night Out is coming up August 4th, and right now we have 145 neighborhoods that have signed up for block parties.
Right.
And last year, I believe, in our population class, we were first in the nation. And so we're hoping that we can have a repeat of that. And considering we still have, roughly 2 weeks to go and we're at 145, I think we're going to, achieve well beyond 145. So the residents love it, absolutely love it. Just a few other things. Hobby Lobby is opening on Monday, August 3rd at 9 a.m. They'll have their ribbon cutting. So it's too close to my house because I expect Sharon to be there quite often. In fact, one of my staff members says what I should do is take a picture of Sharon and post it in Hobby Lobby and say, if you see this woman, do not sell to her. So,
you could try that, but I don't know how much good it will do.
I don't think it'll work a bit. So we're looking for the opening of that. Our city population is now 67,300 and some change, and so it just continues to inch upward. I was informed by our police chief this morning that our crime rate is down, which is always good news. Our residential values have been stable. There's been a lot of strong residential sales, but the valuations have been fairly stable, so not a great increase or great decrease. So things are pretty solid there. The council did set a couple of special council meetings. As you know, there's been a vacancy on our city council, and we had 19 applicants. The council went through all of those, narrowed it down to 6.
Okay.
And then on Monday, July 7 at 6 p.m., they'll start with the first interview, and they'll interview the 6 individuals. Now, it's possible they could pick one that evening, and then also possible the new person could start the first meeting in August.
Okay.
Or they may look at the 6 and narrow it down to 3 and want to re-interview those 3. So we'll see what the council wants to do on the 27th. So it's entirely their call.
Very good.
And then August 10th, we're going to have another special city council meeting where we'll interview candidates for the Planning Commission vacancy. And there are 4 very good candidates for that as well. So council's going to be busy for the next month or so. Want to congratulate Terry Muller. Terry Muller is our assistant city engineer. Terry's been with us for well beyond 30 years, and he's just done a fantastic job for us over those 30 plus years. And so we're losing another veteran and another individual that has a tremendous amount of history up in the head and has played a key role in helping Maple Grove be what it is today.
Right,
so.
probably remembers a few streets that weren't here before, and maybe a few water mains and things that weren't there, so
absolutely.
Hats off to him.
Another project that the city is working on right now is a concept plan called Village at Arbor Lakes. This is the Doran property, which is, I guess, at the corner of Hemlock and Elm Creek Boulevard. It's about a 40-acre parcel. It's had a number of development proposals over the years. This one, Mr. Doran is coming in as a concept again for multifamily residential at the north end, and then the south end could be 2 hotels, 2 restaurants, could very well be a drugstore. Then we're looking for a couple of possible office buildings, things like that. So again, it's under the tinkering stage right now. We're just meeting with them and going through the process. Whether or not this will be ready in time to come to the July 29 Planning Commission, I do not know.
Okay.
There was a meeting today, but I have not had a chance to talk to staff and see how that went. But we'll see how that goes. We continue to, we've talked about this a number of times at 101 and Bass Lake Road. We're getting closer. The developer, the developer is getting closer to putting something together there, and
because it was a grocery store was the original idea. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Some fashion.
That's correct, and with some other retail and then residential. It's still a grocery store, but now there's 2 grocery stores that have expressed an interest.
Okay, that's good.
So we're working with the developer for that project, but that's been an ongoing project. So hopefully that'll finally become reality.
Okay, we'll keep people up to date on the progress of that and what is decided at future meetings.
The recent city council meeting was over 2 hours long. We haven't had
a record for you guys in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, we haven't had a long meeting like that for quite some time. So we had a very long consent agenda. Everything on consent was approved. We had the Maple Grove ambassadors that joined us at the beginning of the meeting. Grace Egan, Alex Dukosin, and Lauren Krasnoff. They introduced themselves to the council and to the public and talked about what their plans are, and then also different things that they're going to be involved in during their reign as the Maple Grove ambassadors. So 3 wonderful ladies. They're going to represent Maple Grove very, very well. The ambassador program has been around for a number of years. It's generated some very, very wonderful ambassadors for the city, and some of those have gone on to be candidates for the Queen of Lakes and things like that for the Aquatennial. And so we've had some stellar ambassadors over the years. And so these three, they're very energetic. When they were crowned Friday night at the during Maple Grove days, they were unbelievably excited. I thought one of them was going to fall off the stage. They were just so excited, but they are really, really dedicated to representing Maple Grove. So.
And who is the key contact they have with the city? Because obviously they get involved in a number of city events like National Night Out or some of the other things that happen. You'll be at these events and all of a sudden the ambassadors will show up.
That's right. They'll work through Carol Morris
of
my department. In the case of National Night Out, you know, they can work through Chief Werner or Todd Strigi, our National Night Out coordinator. And so, yeah, they try to get involved in as many activities as they can. And they're very poised, and I think they're going to be just wonderful representatives for the city.
So not only reaching out to other communities, like in parades and things like that, but then in your own community, they're out at many events and, again, act as another set of ambassadors for the city.
Absolutely right.
Good. Well, congratulations to them.
Yes. The length of the meeting really had to do with liquor. We had 4 liquor license violations. Punch Pizza was the first one. This is their first violation in 3 years. So the penalty for them is 2-day suspension and a $2,000 fine. They all four of the license holders agreed to waive their right to a public hearing. Under our code, they can call for a public hearing, and under state statute, they can call for a hearing. All 4 of them waived their right to do that, and just to take the punishment that the city council would give them. And so Punch Pizza will have 2 days suspension, $2,000 fine. For 3 out of the 4, the suspension will take place August 5th and 6th, because last night the council imposed the penalty, but then directed everything to our city attorney's office for the findings of fact.
Okay.
It then comes back to the city council as a consent item on August 3rd. And so then August 5th and 6th, 3 of them will have 2-day suspension.
Okay.
The other one will have a 5-day suspension. Now the second one that we dealt with was Staybridge Suites. Again, that was their first violation within 3-year period of time, and so they were given a 2-day, $2,000 fine. We then had Mongo's Grill, which again, that also was 2 days, $2,000 penalty because it was their first violation in 3 years. Rusty Taco was a little different. That is their second violation in 3 years. Code requires a 5-day suspension on that one. And so their suspension for Rusty Taco will be August 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we'll work with them. So, you know, after the August 3rd meeting, we'll work with them as far as signage, and they need to block off, you know, their access area to liquor and things like that. So all 4 businesses were very, very apologetic. You still scratch your head to this day, you know, knowing the way a Minnesota driver's license looks if you're under 21 and says under 21. Why does someone look at the license and then still serve?
Right.
Most cases, a license is not even asked for. They may be in a rush. Or secondly, they're in a rush because there's a lot of business in the restaurant, and so they really do not take a close look.
Sure.
But all 4 businesses were very apologetic and have put in place measures to prohibit this from happening again. So we're very happy about that. We do have a mandatory liquor compliance training that we provide 4 times a year. We keep track of the businesses that do attend because it is mandatory. And so the 4 will be at the August liquor compliance training session. But again, all 4 were, I think it's honest to say they were embarrassed because it's not something that they really want to go through. So we then had a new liquor license for Maple Tavern. Maple Tavern did not renew their license at the end of June. They reorganized their operation with a new ownership structure, new general manager. They then applied for a brand new liquor license. And we did approve that unanimously. Their liquor license is available as we speak if they want it right away. My assumption is they have been without selling liquor for 3 weeks. And so it's probably been fairly costly. So I would imagine they're going to be in a hurry
Right.
to get the license, because you can't play volleyball without a beer, the old saying anyway. So
Tell me about the length of the discussion. You said this was a longer portion of the council meeting,
Yes.
and in the past when we've talked about these issues, normally the discussion doesn't seem to go that long. Was there something that spurred on more discussion? Was it the council members asking more questions, or
I think
spreading
that's
more of their
correct.
knowledge to the businesses?
I think that's correct, that the council was asking more questions,
Okay.
maybe grilling them a little bit
Sure.
more.
Drive the point home a little
Right,
bit.
right, and also asking, what measures have you or are you going to put in place? Also, what have you done with the person that's sold?
Okay.
Some businesses will terminate that individual for selling to a minor. Some businesses will keep that person on as a lesson to the rest of the wait staff. Is that, see, this is what could happen to you, because in each of the 4, the individual that's sold will be responsible to pay for court costs. Typically, that's about $400. That comes out of their pocket.
Okay.
The businesses do not pick that up.
Sure.
And so some businesses will say to themselves, well, if we keep the person on, that person can give a good story to
Sure.
the rest of the wait
Right.
staff. Don't do this. Others terminate immediately.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends. And then the council was just, again, curious as to what measures have you
Sure.
put into place so that not have a repeat. It's,
Okay.
we're hoping, we're striving to have a 0 violation, and hopefully that'll be the case eventually.
Let's hope so. Sure.
We then got into the the real meat of the meeting, and that was Total Wine. Total Wine and More has submitted an application for an off-sale liquor license, and they would be going into where Office Depot was located,
Right.
just down the street from Nordstrom Rack and that shopping center there. It's a large space. It's probably 25 to 30,000 square feet, and so the application was complete. They paid all their necessary application fees. The discussion took place really, should there be another off-sale liquor store in Maple Grove?
Okay.
Currently, we have 12. And so the discussion was impact on the current businesses. Traffic came up. Is there going to be a traffic issue there, or a traffic flow issue? Because on the former Houlihan site, there's a multi-tenant building that's there.
Right.
And there's going to be 2 restaurants that are going to be in there, so that will be traffic generator as well. So the folks from Total Wine gave a lengthy presentation on their operation. They are, I think, in 16 or 17 states, and they have about 117 stores, and so they're big. Been around for a long time. But again, the discussion was, what will be the impact?
Right.
Now, we do not have a maximum on the number of off-sale liquor licenses. Right now, we have 12 that are in existence now. Some communities have kicked around the idea of putting a cap on the number.
Okay.
What is the number? That's the big challenge. Is it 12, 13, 14, whatever? Burnsville removed their cap entirely, in just the recent history here.
Okay.
And so Minnetonka has toyed with the idea of either increasing their cap or leaving it at 12. So it's in some cases it can be a touchy subject, just
Sure.
how many off-sale stores are needed. Right now, Maple Grove has 1 off-sale for every 5,600 people. We are ranked about the middle of the pack of 20 metro cities, and so we're not at the top. 1 store for every 5,600. Is that the right number? Some
Right.
stores are 1 for every 2,800, and so, the council, I think, at some point in time is probably going to address, because there could very well be more applications coming in, and so what impact again would that have on
Right.
the existing businesses? So a lot of discussion. Excuse me. Councilmember Johnson had read extensively the material that was provided, and then there was a lot of material that was provided, and I applaud him for his good work in reviewing everything, and asked a lot of questions as it relates to previous violations in other states.
Okay.
So far, the cities that they are in Minnesota, they have not had any problems. They've done very well there. Excuse me. The police have not had any issues. So there was the pros and the cons. There were those that said, no, we really shouldn't have any more. And then those that said, it's a free market.
Right.
We should just let the free market play out.
Okay. So the discussion continues on, and I take it this will be something that will come back to a future council meeting, and there'll be more discussion about that site.
Well, not in regards to Total Wine.
Okay.
After all the dust settled and all the discussion took place with, those speaking for, those speaking against, it was approved on a 3-to-1 vote.
Okay.
They're looking to open probably later this fall. They're thinking maybe sometime November, later November. So I think what the council is probably going to start taking a look at, and it's just my own personal opinion, is that somewhere down the road, maybe after I retire, but somewhere down the road, they'll maybe take a look at what is the right number.
Sure.
Should there be restrictions based on square footage? Because this one, like Haskell's, is very large, just like a warehouse. Should there be restrictions on locations, not within X miles or whatever
Sure.
of an existing store?
Right.
Should there be a cap on the number? So there's quite a few questions that I think the city council is going to have to take a look at some point. But for now, Total Wine was approved 3-to-1, and they will be going into that former Office Depot site. And again, we'll work with them, and looking forward to having them open their store. They in the other cities that they are currently in Minnesota, they appear to be a regional draw. A lot of people seem to come from a long ways away to shop at Total Wine.
And will they be using the entire space that used to be the Office Depot?
Correct,
So
yes.
that is a very large space.
It is. It's probably 25 to 30,000 square feet. Haskell's, I think, is about 20,000 square feet.
Okay.
And so, yes, it is a very large space. And but we'll work with them, and like I say, they have a plans that probably sometime in November they would like to open their store. So
Okay. Very good.
big concern also is just traffic flow.
Sure.
And
Understand in that area?
Yes, and so it's a crowded area there.
Right.
So.
Okay.
But meeting got over at a little after 10:08 or something like that. We did approve the Siegel residential development, which is up in the northwest corner of the city. That was pretty much a simple just residential development. I can't remember exactly, 50 to 60, 70 units, something like that. That was approved on a 4-to-0 vote. So meeting got over at 10:08, and we look back and think, well, that's the longest meeting we've had
Yes.
or at least a year. So
I believe it.
yes. So,
You mentioned National Night Out earlier. While we have another minute or two, again, part of the fun of that night is for people to get out and have some parties in their neighborhood and really get a chance to meet up with their neighbors. But I know the city does something ahead of that, so an opportunity in the afternoon, I believe
yes.
it is. So
At
if
noon.
residents are interested in heading over to the community center, what happens there?
we at the Lions Pavilion there. They're cooking hot dogs. The police department will be there, and that's at noon on August 4th, and that's kind of a precursor to National Night Out, and lots of food there, so people can come and enjoy the treats, and there is no charge for it. So, and my assumption is that Chief Werner will be cooking up the food again.
You're not in charge of food this year?
Not this year,
Not
no.
cooking anything?
No, I'll stop over there to eat.
How about yourself or the council members now? This is another fun part of that night, is people think a lot about the public safety aspect of it, which is the key, but also as an opportunity for people to find out a little bit about the city operation as
It
well.
is.
Are you going to be out, and the council
I'll be
members
out.
going to be out?
I'll be out and about. This will be my last National Night Out as official. official as a city administrator.
Well, you better eat a lot then, right?
For sure, yes. Mayor and one of the ambassadors and myself will be in one car, and then the other council members and ambassadors, as well as our police staff, will be in other cars. And yeah, we'll be roaming around the city like we have in previous times, and getting to visit with the people. And so,
what kind of questions do you get that night, or what kind of questions do you like that night?
Well, I think the question that I'm going to probably get is, what are you going to do in retirement?
That's right.
Seems to be the common question. It's not, it used to be, when are you going to retire? It's now, what are you going to do in retirement? So I think they'll want to know about the future residential development, the future growth of the city. They're probably going to want to talk about crime, even though crime stats show that it's down. But it's fun to get out there because everybody is in a good, upbeat mood, just enjoying the evening. But a lot of the questions, will just come to just development things in the city and stuff like that. So, and speaking of development, I should encourage our business community on July 30 from 1 to 4 p.m. The Department of Employment and Economic Development is going to have a program at our government center that shows the various opportunities that DEED can provide for business development. So if a business is thinking about expanding or whatever the case, they can come to that. Again, that's free. Come and pick up all kinds of information as to how the DEED programs can help. And so that's July 30, and that's 1 to 4, and that'll be in our government center. So.
Okay, my guess would be you can find out more information about that on the city's website, as well as about National Line Out.
Oh, yes.
Let's leave you with some of that contact information here. So if you want more information about the upcoming council meetings, which you see the date listed on the screen, and also other things happening in the city, go to the city's website, maplegrovemn.gov. Again, National Line Out, ways to sign up and get involved, and also the information about what's coming up at the government center related to businesses. And if you have questions or comments, certainly call our viewer response line 533-1710. If you have a question for Al, we'll try to address that in an upcoming program. For Al Madsen, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.